Hello and welcome to White Hare Investigations. I'm your host, Anna Rucco. Winchester Repeating Rifle Company, the gun that won the West. A look into the history of the Winchester Company as told by the guns used in Red Dead Redemption 2. The history of Winchester. The ancestor of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company was the Horace Smith and Daniel Wesson Partnership of Norwich, Connecticut, not to be confused with the famous Smith & Wesson Revolver Company founded later by the same men. Smith & Wesson acquired Lewis Jennings' improved version of inventor Walter Hunt's 1848 Volcanic repeating rifle and its caseless rocket ball ammunition, which had been produced in small numbers by Robinson Lawrence of Windsor, Vermont. Jennings' rifle was a commercial failure, and Robinson Lawrence ceased production in 1852. Smith designed a much improved rifle based on Jennings, and the partners also hired away Robbins and Lawrence shop foreman Benjamin Taylor Henry. In 1855, the Smith & Wesson Partnership, in order to manufacture what they called the Volcanic lever-action rifle and pistol, sought investors and incorporated as the Volcanic Repeating Arms Company. Its largest stockholder was clothing manufacturer Oliver Winchester. Smith & Wesson Volcanic Pistol, 1855 Volcanic Pistol. The Volcanic Pistol is a 41 caliber lever-action magazine pistol designed in 1852 at the beginning of the Smith & Wesson Partnership. A year later, it was manufactured by Smith & Wesson Repeating Arms Company. The company would be recognized in 1855 as the Volcanic Repeating Arms Company. Smith & Wesson focused their efforts to design and produce a pistol that would fire a self-contained metallic cartridge using Roland White's bored-through cylinder. It is designed for a rocket-type cartridge and was the first successful American-made pistol that used self-contained cartridges. It was in 1854, in a review by Scientific America, that this pistol was nicknamed the Volcanic because it reminded people of an erupting volcano. The pistol has a part round, part octagon barrel with front-loading magazine. It has an iron frame and loading lever with round ring hole and attached spur. The two-piece grips are wood with flat bottoms and a varnish finish. The barrel has a pinch steel front sight. The sides of the gun are decorated in the typical volcanic pattern with large open scroll engraving, and the top of the receiver features an engraved leaf motif. The Volcanic rifle had only limited success. The company moved to New Haven without Smith or Wesson in 1856, but by the end of that year became bankrupt. Oliver Winchester and his partner, John M. Davis, purchased the bankrupt firm's assets from the remaining stockholders and reorganized it as the New Haven Arms Company in April 1857. After forming the New Haven Arms Company, Benjamin Henry continued to work on a Smith development project, the self-contained metallic rimfire cartridge, and perfected the much larger, more powerful 44 Henry round. Henry also supervised a new rifle design based loosely on the Volcanic to use the new ammunition, retaining only the general form of the breech mechanism and the tubular magazine. This became the Henry rifle of 1860, which was manufactured by the New Haven Arms Company and used in considerable numbers by certain Union Army units in the American Civil War. The Henry rifle ensured New Haven Arms' success, and together with the Spencer rifle, established the lever-action repeater in the firearms market. 1860 Henry Repeating Rifle. 1860 Litchfield Repeater. The Henry Repeating Rifle is a lever-action tubular magazine rifle famed for its use at the Battle of the Little Bighorn and being the basis for the iconic Winchester rifle of the American Wild West. Designed by Benjamin Taylor Henry in 1860, the original Henry was a 16-shot, 44 caliber rimfire breech-loading lever-action rifle. The Henry was an improved version of the earlier Volatile and later Volcanic. It was introduced in the early 1860s and produced through 1866 in the United States by the New Haven Arms Company. The Henry was adapted in small quantities by the Union in the Civil War, favored for its greater firepower than the standard issue carbine. Many later found their way west, notably in the hands of the Sioux and Cheyenne in their defeat of Custer's U.S. cavalry troops in June of 1876. 1866 Winchester Model. 1866 Lancaster Repeater. The first Winchester rifle, the Winchester Model 1866, was originally chambered for the rimfire 44 caliber Henry, nicknamed the Yellow Boy because its receiver being made of a bronze brass alloy called gunmetal. It was famous for its rugged construction and lever action repeating rifle mechanism that allowed the user to fire a number of shots before having to reload. Nelson King's improved patent remedied flaws in the Henry rifle by incorporating a loading gate on the side of the frame and integrating a round sealed magazine which was partially covered by a forestock. Due to public demand, the Model 1866 continued to be manufactured and sold until 1899, mainly because they were less expensive than the latter steel-framed center-fired models. In 1866, Benjamin Henry, angered over what he believed was inadequate compensation, attempted to have the Connecticut legislature award ownership of New Haven Arms to him. Oliver Winchester, hastening back from Europe, forestalled the move and reorganized New Haven Arms yet again as the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. Winchester had the basic design of the Henry rifle completely modified and improved to become the first Winchester rifle, the Model 1866, which fired the same 44 caliber rimfire cartridge as the Henry but had an improved magazine with the addition of a loading gate on the right side of the receiver, invented by Winchester employee Nelson King, and for the first time a wooden fore-end. The Henry and the 1866 Winchester shared a unique double firing pin which struck the head of the rimfire cartridge in two places when the weapon was fired, increasing the chances that the filament in the hollow rim would ignite the 28 or so grains of black powder inside the case. Smith & Wesson Model 3 Schofield Revolver, 1868 Schofield Revolver. The Smith & Wesson Model 3 is a single-action, cartridge-firing, top-breech revolver produced by Smith & Wesson from 1870 to 1915. The U.S. Army adapted the 44 caliber Smith & Wesson Model 3 revolver in 1870, making the Model 3 revolver the first standard-issue cartridge-firing revolver in U.S. service. Most military pistols up until that point were black powder, cap and ball revolvers, which were, by comparison, slow, complicated, and susceptible to the effects of wet weather. Many of the Smith & Wesson Model 3 Schofield revolvers saw service in the Indian Wars, and there were reports of them in use as late as the Spanish-American War and Philippine-American War. Like the other Smith & Wesson revolvers, they were also reportedly popular with lawmen and outlaws in the American West and were reportedly used by Jesse James, Bob Ford, who used one to kill Jesse James, John Wesley Harding, Pat Garrett, Theodore Roosevelt, Virgil Earp, Billy the Kid, and many others. The Smith & Wesson No. 3 revolver was famously reported as being used by Wyatt Earp during the OK Corral gunfight with the Clanton Gang. Another extremely popular model was rolled out in 1873. The Model 1873 introduced the first Winchester center-fired cartridge, the 4440 WCF, which stands for Winchester Centerfire. These rifle families are commonly known as the gun that won the West. The Model 1873 was followed by the Model 1876, or Centennial Model, a larger version of the 73, which used the same toggle-link action and brass cartridge elevator used in the Henry. It was chambered for longer, more powerful cartridges such as the 4560, the 4575, and the 5095. The action was not long enough to allow Winchester to achieve their goal of producing a repeating rifle capable of handling the 4570 government cartridge. This would not happen until they began manufacturing of the Browning-designed Model 1886. From 1883, John Browning worked in partnership with the Winchester Repeating Arms Company and designed a series of rifles and shotguns. Most notable, the Winchester Model 1885 single shot, Winchester Model 1887 lever action shotgun, Model 1897 pop action shotgun, and the lever action Model 1886, Model 1892, Model 1894, and Model 1895 rifles. Several of these are still in production today through companies such as Browning, Rosie, Navy Arms, and others. 1887 Winchester Model Shotgun. 1887 Repeating Shotgun. The Winchester Model 1887 is a lever-action shotgun originally designed by famed American gun designer John Browning and produced by the Winchester Repeating Arms Company during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The Model 1887 was one of the first successful repeating shotgun. Its lever-action design was chosen at the behest of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, best known at the time as manufacturers of lever-action rifles such as the Winchester Model 1873. Designer John Browning suggested that a pump action would be more appropriate for a repeating shotgun, but Winchester management's position was that, at the time, the company was known as a lever-action firearm company, and felt that their new shotgun must also be a lever-action for reasons of brand recognition. Browning responded by designing a breech-loading, rolling block lever-action. 1890 Winchester Model 1890 Varmint Rifle. The Winchester Model 1890 is a slide-action repeating rifle produced by the Winchester Repeating Arms Company in the late 19th and early 20th century. In the late 1880s, the Winchester Repeating Arms Company asked John Browning to design a replacement for the Model 1873 rifle, since the rimfire version of the Model 1873 had never achieved any great popularity. On June 26, 1888, a patent for the new design was issued to John and Matthew Browning. Under this patent, Winchester created the second repeating slide-action 22 caliber rifle ever successfully developed and manufactured, being narrowly edged out by the Colt Lightning small-frame carbine. The Model 1890 proved to be the most successful repeating rimfire rifle for general all-around shooting ever made by Winchester. Approximately 849,000 Model 1890 rifles were produced between 1890 and 1932, after which the Model 1890 was replaced by the Winchester Model 62 rifle. A final cleanup of stock on hand was completed in 1941. 1897 Winchester Model Shotgun. 1897 Pump Action Shotgun. The Winchester Model 1897, also known as the Model 97, the M97, or trench gun, is a pump-action shotgun with an external hammer and tube magazine manufactured by the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. The Winchester Model 1897 was designed by American firearms inventor John Most Browning. The Model 1897 was first listed for sale in the November 1897 Winchester catalog. The 1897 introduced a takedown design where the barrel could be taken off, a standard in pump shotguns made today, like the Remington 870 and the Mossberg 500 series. Over time, the Model 97 became the most popular shotgun on the American market and established a standard of performance by which other kinds and makes of shotguns were judged. It was the first truly successful pump-action shotgun produced. The Winchester Repeating Arms Company is still going today, having survived many ups and downs. Oliver Winchester died in December 1880. His son and successor, William Wirt Winchester, died of tuberculosis 4 months later. William Wirt Winchester's widow, Sarah Winchester, used her inheritance and income from the company to build what is now known as Winchester Mystery House.